Hello, and welcome back to Stealing Immortality, the Old Ways Twitch Dark Ages 20th Anniversary Edition's tale. I'm here with our aforementioned and lovely ghoulies. For those of you who are seeing this, and those of you who might be wondering when this happens, it's okay. Your storyteller fired an ad break, and it's all his fault. So he will apologize at a proper time and place of his choosing. So we want to welcome you in. Thanks for being a part of our Twitch audience, and thanks for being a part of what we do here on Twitch. I'm going to get to introductions in just a second, but before we do that, I want to remind you and all of the folks who watch on the video on demand and eventually on YouTube, I want to mention and remind you that this is a mature show, and it's only for mature audiences. And there are things that will happen, especially tonight, that really only adults should ingest. I think that's the best way to say it. And so you've been fitfully warned that as a game in the world of darkness, there may be many, many terrifying things that happen, and there might be gouts and gallons of blood all over the floor by the time that we're all through. Um, but really, that's just all part of the fun, promise. And so I will begin our tale by getting to introductions in our fair city of Constantinople, and introductions will begin with our first ghoulie.
I'm 99% sure that's me. Um, so hi, I'm Morgan and I play Genevieve, Dama the Fort. And I'm, just here. Honestly, I'm a little bit of a mess tonight because, it's a crazy day. Here we are. We're in Constantinople. We did things last game. We stole some things. We might have killed some people if I remember. That was a couple weeks ago. And so here I am, and happy to be here. Happy to do more things, and looking forward to seeing what my sire has to say.
Oh, I am too. Yeah, there was a nasty beastie that one of our ghoulies had to get their hand all the way inside, and that was just a bowl of laughs. So the next ghoulie on our list.
Hi, I'm Bunny. I play the Toreador ghoul Emerenzia. Our pronouns are she, her. And frankly, we're so close to done. I'm so close to going back to my Dama and being like, this is what happened. I got you the things that you desired. If having my arm deep throated by a statue monster wasn't good enough for you, I don't know what lengths to go to at this point, but I'll do my best.
Yeah,
But yeah.
totally. Okay, and the last ghoulie on our list.
Hi, I'm Allie, and I play our Bruja Ghoulie, Ophelia Sellos. And I got a killing blow on a big old nasty monster thing. And I have a bunch of scrolls that I barely had time to properly look through. And hopefully, my sire is not, or hopeful new sire, maybe, we'll see what happens, isn't dead in the riots.
Hopefully not. No. As a ghoul, all of you would know if any of your sires are in trouble. That is part of the blood bond, is knowing what their state is, especially if they were to have a problem. Not that any of them would have problems, of course not. There's nothing to be afraid of, I'm certain. But I say that, of course, as your storyteller, because I make up the fears. So, as a recap, just slightly for those of you who are maybe just getting plugged into this episode, we have for you tonight three ghouls who have been sent on a series of, well, tasks, challenges to acquire very important items to their sires. And I want to stop and just momentarily mention that I use the word sire in its traditional and archaic sense here. And so a sire could be anyone of noble birth or importance, one that you would want to give a lot of respect to when you speak to them. So that is sort of the broad term. And we are aware, of course, that traditionally the relationship between a ghoul and their domitor is used in that fashion. But I like sire much better. It flows better, I think. And so that's why we use it. That said, these three ghoulies absconded with some treats from the depths of a Ventru vault and even encountered a nasty little flesh-crafted creature. At least they think they did. They were able to abscond and get out and get to the outer portion of the villa's courtyard before things got too far awry. And we'll sort of tick the clock forward on them just a little bit. And as we do, we are going to see each one of them, in their own way, make their way back to whence they came. Because, of course, they have their trophy. They have the peace at which their sire has requested and, in fact, has promised them something wonderfully eternal if they are to acquire it. And so I would like to start with Ophelia, because it seems only right. Returning towards your sire, your master's haven, the space which he keeps for you and many of his other retainers, is a perilous one. It's perilous because the Latin Quarter has been under serious attack for several nights now. It's beginning to culminate, or has culminated, it seems. There's been word that one of the cities of the empire has been attacked. And so locals to Constantinople began to rush into the Latin Quarter and accuse the people here, the common man and woman here, of treachery. This unfolded and extended out towards the vampiric community. And as many of the Latin Quarter's vampires began to experience difficulties, homes begun to be burned. And as you step back into this space, getting closer to your home, you can smell kindling and wood and worse burning. There's this sickly, sweet smell that you are familiar with from roasted pigs. But you see no spits and you see no cooking fires. The streets are empty. There are few, if any, who exist except in the long shadows here. Nearing the haven, Callias' home, you can see that many of the windows of this place have been, the boards themselves have been broken. And a few of the stone reliefs outside of his home have been covered in soot and ash. It's possible that some of the haven, some of the villa itself, was set on fire.
I mean, the first thing that I'm going to do when I'm able to see everything is I'm going to rush in the doors and I'm going to go to his quarters, because that's what, I don't know if he's there, but that's the first instinct I have for trying to find him.
Mm-hmm. You rush in. When you rush in, something comes to your lips. A taste, an acrid one. There's ash in the air. You see the desiccated body of a servant, a boy, probably no more than, not yet a man, but close. His name is Emir. Emir has been burned. He's been burned to the floor. It's as if someone took a gout of wax and covered Emir's body with it and then set it on fire. There's another, not far, a serving woman that your master had kept for many years. Quiet, simple, and she has been debased at the waist. Part of her sits on the left and part of her sits on the right. It's the same chair she used to sit in daily and wait for Callias to return from his time in the Senate. And she has been treated in a horrific and awful way. Just with your eyes picking your way through the main entrance to the villa, you can see that there are perhaps 3 or 4 more of your master's retainers and servants that have been attacked.
I don't have time to stop and grieve right now. I have to make sure that he's okay.
Press your way deeper inside.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough because you knew them. While you felt like you always had the center of your sire's love and attention, he was always ready to acknowledge your deeds. He was not by any means a cold man. Clan Bruja is filled with passionate and loving people, even if they are, in their own way, monsters in the night. These people didn't deserve any of this. Deeper into the villa, you climb some stairs towards the ascendant portion where Callias keeps his private study and his bedchamber, a chamber you know very well. The door is cracked open, heavy wood. There are multiple crossbow bolts driven into the door. And you see some heavy chop marks at it, like perhaps someone went into it with an axe. And there's a smell in the air. A definitive coppery smell.
Is the door barred if I try to open it?
It is not. It is not barred. There is but a crack. And you could perhaps pull open the door. They're heavy, but it's not beyond your ghoul strength to be able to open them.
I'll open them.
Inside there is a lamp burning at the end of a long hall here that makes up the study. There are scorch marks on the ground. It appears as if they have blossomed out from something. It's a strange feeling. It's a strange symbol on the ground. It's as if someone took a campfire and picked up all the sticks and ash at once and dropped it in specific spots. It's as if no fire or burn mark existed there except that someone dropped it there and it blossomed outward. And there are 2 or 3 of these markings. And at the end of this trail, you see 2 figures, one cradling another. and they're two figures that you know. In the lamplight there, from the table that they sit in front of, you see your sire, Callias, and you see in his arms Thomas. And he is smoothing the hair, that sort of blonde, long, ragged hair of Thomas back. And he seems distraught. You see Thomas's sword, the one he used to some effect to help you get into Epirus's villa, cast aside there. There is a ugly and distressed form beside it, as if whatever Thomas did to it, it did not survive. There's no breath, there's no breathing, there's no sobbing. There is simply this heavy presence that sits at the end of the room.
I'll go to him in silence. And when I reach him, I will kneel down behind him and rest my head against his back in comfort.
You don't feel him react to you. He feels like a piece of stone. His body doesn't move except for his forearms and hands. You see Thomas's eyes still sort of shining with this golden color in them. And for a moment, you think Thomas is gone. And then he twitches. Like you watch his shoulders and arm twitch. And he grabs your sire's forearm. Not hard, but he touches, you see his arm move. And it's at that point, like your master exhales, like noticeably, and sort of eases Thomas back onto the stone floor. He says in Latin, which I'm fairly certain you speak Latin.
I do.
He says something to the effect of, I could not bear a moonrise with you being gone. And Thomas replies in sort of a muddled English, you are a sentimental old fart. And then you see this really wide, like toothy grin on Thomas's face begin to move. And he laughs. And that's really when you begin to see like the extent of his wounds. Like he has been stabbed probably 5 or 6 times. Like his clothes, the clothes you saw him in earlier, are rended and just destroyed from like the stomach down. Like his tunic is just in tatters. He's still wearing parts of his armor, but you can see there's blood all over it. It looks like he's been through a war. Your sire turns to you and says, go and fetch some wine for us.
And I'll take off the satchel that I'm wearing. I'm sure the scrolls were like sticking out as I was running back to the villa and everything anyway. So I'll leave those for him if he wants to look at them now or later. But I want him to see that they are with me. And I will go to probably the kitchen,
Mhm.
making my way past, I'm sure, even more people of my household dead.
Actually, the people you find in the kitchen are people you don't know. Actually, an awful lot of people that you don't know. There's got to be a score of people, roughly 12 in here, that are in pieces. Like not fine dice, chopped julienne or anything like that, but like this person's missing a leg, clearly. They died in an awful way. This person looks like they were run through with a sword. Gee, I wonder how that happened. This person was clearly ripped apart physically. But you find like the wine, it's not really even a bottle, it's like a barrel that they
Yeah.
house it in.
And I'll fill up a jug and grab a couple of glasses and make my way back to his study.
Okay. Yeah, that wine pours not regularly. That's pretty thick wine. It's viscous.
Yeah. I'm also sure that I have poured wine from this particular place on many occasions before.
Probably more than a few. You come back and Callius is like collecting things from some of the bodies that are in the study. And he has helped Thomas get to like a sitting chair near the desk and takes the glasses from the wine, decanters and mugs and whatever from you and gives one to Thomas first. And you can tell that it's sorely needed. And it's really at that point that your sire turns to the scrolls and sort of like takes a closer look at them and then looks at you and says, "You were successful."
I believe so, yes.
Wonderful. That is sorely needed good news on a night like this. He is a sort of dark and brooding picture at this point. He comes around the other side of the table and pulls his chair closer so that he can sort of sit in conversational range with Thomas. And he says, "They've obliterated the Latin Quarter. Something will have to be done. Someone will have to be held responsible. There was no defense put up by the Lexor or the Antonia Ventru. They have failed us." And you see
They
sort of,
had no,
go ahead.
and like unbidden, and I know he wasn't talking to me,
He was
but
not.
the guy that like helped us out of the villa, pretty specifically said that that the Latin Quarter wasn't gonna get help. And that's what I say. They had no intention of helping us, Master.
Thomas nods. Like before Callius can immediately correct you for interrupting him, Thomas nods and says, "I told you. I told them when I saw them. There was no help ever planned on coming for them. They were written off. After the attack on the Empire, it was war as far as the people of Constantinople were concerned. The Latin Quarter is just chattel."
It's also a good riddance as far as they're concerned.
Callius picks up the glass and drinks it and then sets it down like the entire thing at once. And he says, I do not agree. There must be consequences.
We should deliver them.
You see, like, Thomas sort of sit up a little bit and he coughs. The city's ruling kindred are not interested in heeding our warnings or our problems. Michael rules from the depths of his station, a stained glass god. And when he chooses to be a part of this society, his whims are strange. I fear madness has gripped him, one we may not be able to understand. And your sire turns to Thomas and says, something has to be done. There is no choice. They have given us no choice. And you can see Thomas's sort of hands up, immediate defensive reaction, not wanting to anger your sire. I do not disagree. We must bring word to those who do have Michael's ears. We must tell this tale. He sort of extends his hand out towards the obliterated hall and, open villa. It's not just this house, it's the whole quarter. If nothing else, the atrocities committed at the Hospital of St. John should be enough, let alone the rest of the houses and important places of worship here. Someone must pay ultimately. Once I am fit, I will take what I can to my clanmates and we will make our own announcement. Thomas stands up. He doesn't actually he doesn't really change the height when he stands up, but he stands up. And then steps down, goes over to his sword and collects it. I will see you soon, my friend. Perhaps stay in tonight. He sort of looks around. No promises, Thomas. I can only keep the rage chained so long. You see Thomas give you sort of a half smile, and he says to you directly, good luck, and walks off. You also realize that while he is walking off, he does not have any, he no longer has any pants. He has boots and a tunic. That is it. You're not sure if he understands that, but he probably will at some point. I'll leave you with that thought. So, Emerenzia,
Yes,
you
sir.
have had a pretty wild evening.
Yeah.
All things considered, right?
Yeah.
And your sire, the Dama, is, as you can only imagine, very much looking forward to getting what you have collected and saved from being shattered within the vault.
Yeah.
So the villa that she keeps is between the Hippodrome and the palace. It is one of the most affluent area and one of the most, we'll just say, artistically positioned places to have a location, to call a haven. Making your way back there is actually a fairly short travel. It's probably no more than a handful of blocks. before you're well within the district.
Yeah.
But you see that a few things have changed since you walked these streets. And that is, you see the presence of armed guards
Oh,
on the street with the crest of the city of Constantinople across them. And as you begin to move towards your home, where the Dama rests at, they begin to interdict your path.
are there alternative paths I could take to get there?
Oh, I'm certain that there are places that you could attempt to, alleyways and whatnot, you could shift down or try to um, obscure your arrival if that's what you'd like.
I will attempt to do that once I see them start to move and pay attention to me. I'll divert course.
Okay, I like that. So I'm going to ask you to make a dexterity and stealth roll.
Sure.
And you can let me know how limber you are.
And I think we've heard how limber she is. I'm going to see how useful that is to us right now.
Right. Right.
2.
Okay. So you are able to get about 3/4 of the way there. You get stuck basically behind a couple of barrels and a crate that is near one of the marketplace houses. Doesn't actually have a market in it, but some of the foodstuffs or whatnot and grains are packaged up in these crates nearby. And you get there, and the issue is that you have to get across the street. And it looks
Mm.
like the outside of that sort of section, this block area, is pretty well protected. You could certainly attempt to make a run for it. No issue with you trying to do that. But you know that if you go out into the street as it is right now, you are going to get seen.
Have I had to interact with the city guard before? Like, is this a thing that I have recent memory of needing to do?
Maybe. So probably a couple of years ago, you would remember that there was another attack on the Latin Quarter, and it
Mm.
was basically locals who were upset with people coming from the west and are moving further east, and sort of, for lack of a better term, immigrating to the city. They got a little mad, and when the locals did, they began to uh, be more than just a little unkind to them, set fires to homes and beat people in the streets, and now we've had this series of flares that have happened here a few years later, and tonight has been um, a huge continuous assault, and so it does make sense as to why they're here. If that's the reason, you probably have had to interact with them a couple of times, but you might not be on a first name basis with any of them.
Mm. I will step out and approach home, uh, since it is my home and I belong there. And if it looks like they're going to stop me from entering my home, I would like to make an etiquette roll, recalling how I've dealt with them in the past to try to like play the etiquette game to social combat my way back into my house without being stopped.
Oh, I love this for you. So I'm gonna ask you, the player, if you
Mhm.
can remember how Emerenzia ended the session last time, what she may or may not be covered in, um, or what she may or may not smell like, how her hair might be.
Ooh, Yeah, that's a good call. I'd like to do a manipulation performance roll instead of an etiquette roll.
Okay. I love this for you as well. How would you like, what performance would you like to put on?
It has been hell getting back here to home. It's a nightmare out there. It just people getting slaughtered. God, so much blood. As I'm like, I know I'm covered in blood. I know I am. There's so much blood. There's so much horror in the streets. So many people dying. Please, I just want to get back into my home and make sure that the rest of the servants and my Dama are okay. Please.
Okay. So go ahead and make a roll.
Sure. I need more dice for performance roll though. Performance is I get to use pretty much the block roll. Hold on a sec.
Right.
Six.
That's pretty good. So we'll make. Okay. Give them the benefit of the doubt. So the two guards that you meet take some sort of, I think pity is a strong word, but they feel bad for you. They ask you where you live. They would like to make sure that you get home safely. They've heard about what's happening in the Latin Quarter and how terrible it is. They ask you if you're hurt. They do all sorts of things to fall over themselves to be nice.
Um, I was in the Latin Quarter this evening, but I live in the villa with the Dama Verdi, and I just really need to get back home.
Of course. They take you and escort you to wherever you point to. You're not certain they know Dama Verdi by name, but it can't hurt to name drop at this point.
Yeah.
You get escorted basically to the front door.
Perfect.
Where
Great.
you are allowed in. The doors are shut, but at hearing someone approach, you know that the Dama has someone that watches very carefully the front door to make sure that everyone inside is safe.
Thank you so much for the escort here. I appreciate it so much. I will kiss them both on the cheek if neither of them stop me.
No, they do not stop you. They remain respectful, but they certainly don't stop you.
Thank you. As I'll try to slip inside without them.
Yeah, you slip inside. They linger, likely, there at the steps just for a little while, and then you don't hear them because what you hear and see are the insides of the Dama's home, which is your home.
It is so good to be home after the night that we've had. Right? There's nothing horrible here in the entryway or signs that people aren't home that should be home.
No, who would ever do that to you?
You, Michael.
Oh, right. No, the Dama's home, the first floor, she has multiple floors. Instead of her villa being sort of extravagant and long as many villas are, some of the palace villas and those who have been in high seats of power tend to have very long villas for those massive pools and whatnot. But that's not the Dama style. She has, for the longest time, began building higher. So instead of it being 3 stories here, there's actually 4 on the villa. It's not as long, but it is much, much higher than some of the surrounding properties. And so you know that you'll have to go upstairs because where she rests is on the 3rd floor. And you do see several of your fellow ghouls, retainers, her staff. Many of them are aghast at seeing you. Oh my God, are you okay? Like you get 2 or 3 of them that come closer and they're What happened? Are they're very inquisitive.
I was out tonight um, on behalf of the Dama. It isn't. It's a mess out there, and from what I heard while out, I'm not sure the Latin Quarter will stand tomorrow. But for right now, I need to see the Dama, and maybe if you could bring me one of my dresses instead of the rags that are left that I'm wearing, that'd be incredible, please.
You should definitely clean up before you go upstairs. They they don't help you so much as that you know where there is not a bath per se, but there is a fountain that is sort of kept with water available to wash oneself. This is especially helpful like in the summer months here in Constantinople when the temperatures rise, the roads get dusty. Nobody likes to have that sort of road market dust cling to them. And so
Yeah.
you can sort of take a tiny little bath in that space.
Sure.
You're able to acquire clean clothes, something likely very simple. All of the household clothes here are um, pretty vibrant. They're not just plain whites or blacks. They're fairly vibrant colors here. That's
hmm
sort of the way the Dama prefers her people. And after that, I would imagine you head upstairs.
Yes. As soon as I am cleaned off and dressed again. Though, even while bathing, I will not let my small bag with those vials out of my sight.
Hmm.
There is nothing separating me from looking at those.
Yeah, it wouldn't be out of the question to assume that someone else in the house likely might ask you what's there, given that everyone here is very inquisitive. And do you need help with those? Some very immediate questions and concerns.
Oh, oh no, no. It's a gift for the queen as well as a few. Oh God, the
Oh
queen.
wow,
Whoa, hold on. Sorry, hold on. Who
she's
I
a queen now.
misspoke. I worship her, but that's a little too far. Hold on. Let me. It's a gift for the Dama, as well as a few supplies I went up to get. It's nothing. She expects me to deliver them myself. So let me just get appropriately cleaned off to see her, and then I will go deliver them myself. Thank you for the offer of help, though, as I just sort of keep them close to me the whole time, just closer and closer the more people ask them. The satchel's just full of supplies for the Dama. It's fine.
Right. And that's the intriguing part, as you well know, for many of your fellow ghouls and retainers, is that now that you've identified it as something that the Dama wants, now people are immediately a little bit more interested. So while you bathe, I would just say that, or clean up, because bathe is sort of a heavy word. There's no
Yeah.
actual bath here. While you clean up, there are probably more than a handful of people that are watching you, like actively. And it's not that they're necessarily keeping their attention on you while you clean yourself. It is that they
Mhm.
are staring at that bag.
It's not the first time that people that the Dama keeps around have watched me bathe. That's fine. I will put on the bag if I have to while rinsing myself off.
Yeah,
Uh,
you don't have to put it on, but you also remember that very distinctly that many people within Clan Toreador have the ability to see deeper into things.
mhm.
And you have to wonder if they are trying to discern what's inside the bag without having
Um,
to accost you verbally for answers.
yeah. I'm gonna try to get back out of here as quickly as I can.
Yeah, you do so.
Uh,
I don't think that you skimp on cleaning yourself necessarily, but you definitely it takes you like probably a good 5 minutes to get the stuff, whatever is all in your hair out, because Lordy, there was a lot of stuff going on.
yeah.
But after that, you're free to go upstairs. with
Fantastic.
several of your fellow ghouls who follow you.
Okay. I will try to ignore them and make my way straight to where I'm hoping the Dama will be. I will check her quarters first, considering the hour.
You check her quarters. Her quarters are empty, all save except for one of her retainers, a Spanish man who has served her as a retainer for many years. His name is Martin. He stands tall. He's sort of rail thin. He wears highly decorative attire. And he is someone who, if you are not helping her like get dressed appropriately for the day, it is likely his job. He's also a master fencer. And he also serves as, in some ways, a bit of her physical protector. It is common for him to stand guard while she sleeps, like during the day. He sees you enter.
If I see him just there, I'll just ask him point blank, Martin, where is she?
She is upstairs. She is awaiting your return. My understanding is that there is something important you've brought. At least that's what it sounds like.
Indeed. It has been quite a night. Thank you. I will slip
Emerenzia,
off to go upstairs. Oh, yes?
you turn around and Martin is like 10 feet from you now at the door. He moved 15 feet across the room without making a sound. Do be careful. You understand how the pyramid works?
Yes, Martin.
They all serve her.
Yeah.
He watches you go.
Okay. I will go upstairs.
You go upstairs. This is a little bit more of an open section on the third floor. There are rooms for music here. There are rooms for working on sculpture. This is sort of an art floor. It's really the best way to describe it. There are spaces here for painting and for writing, for really living within the muse. And there's also here a space that you have, you've attended the Dama here a few times. She has a wide and sort of extravagant marble bath here. She also has a balcony, which looks out onto the Bosphorus and the rest of the palace district. And there's a reason why she continues to build the villa higher and higher, because she enjoys the view. And it's fairly spectacular, you having seen the balcony and getting an opportunity, obviously, to assist your sire in bathing and all of the fun which comes with that. You hear someone practicing a wind instrument when you come in. Very light and airy tones.
I'll approach slowly and quietly, but I'll move towards it.
Near the end of the villa, there are a collection of people who are sitting at the Dama's feet. And you see her playing a musical instrument. She does not play musical instruments very often. That's really not her first or second gear art form. Mostly it's painting and sculptures. She is a master painter, and she's advised many different architectural wonders in creating lifelike sculptures. She's very good with hammer and chisel, and has a well-trained eye for the human form. But you see her playing a sort of strange wind instrument, and every one of the people who are sitting at her feet are staring up at her, and their eyes are completely glazed over, totally transfixed by the sound. And she just simply continues to play it as you approach, and you hear her get to a somewhat even note, and then lets it trail off, and no one moves a muscle.
When it's done trailing off, I will applaud softly.
She sets the instrument down on a small wooden table that is close to the bath and turns. She's wearing something that's fairly generous as far as the cloth goes. It bunches up around her hips and her shoulders. It looks like it's pinned to do so that she can get a little bit more freedom of movement from it. It's not at all, ostentatious or lurid or anything. It's for lack of a better term, it's a robe that's been cinched up in places that she can move. It is dark, like a really dark red that strikes an amazing contrast with her dark hair. And this goddess energy sort of flows out of her towards you. The pale skin, the dark hair, and when her eyes look at you, it does stuff to your stomach. You've returned.
Did you not expect me to?
I knew the task that I put in front of you was one you could accomplish. I also knew that it was dangerous, and that there were many dangers within that vault, some physical and some psychic.
It has been quite a night.
She just effortlessly extends out a collection of porcelain digits and an open palm.
As much as I would like to take that hand and hold it, I will open the satchel and put the vials in it instead.
You see her just effortlessly clutch the vials, and she holds them just for a moment to her bosom. You see her body blossom, like she takes a breath in, and you almost see like a momentary flush of like color in her face. It's exhilarating to see color on her skin that isn't like makeup.
Yeah.
Then she smiles with a fanged mouth. This is quite a night. I knew you'd succeed, but I didn't know how. Were the others any trouble? She plops the vials back into the satchel and ties it shut.
Oh, the ghouls I was working with?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they were delightful. I would not have made it out of there, especially with all of my limbs, if not for them.
Ah.
Or at least I'm not sure how I would have. I'm quite grateful for their assistance.
Wonderful.
The statue that those were in
Mm-hmm.
very nearly took my arm. And then how would I have played the harp for you? Well, that couldn't have done.
Oh, well. We do have friends within Clans of Meats. We simply could have found you another arm.
I like this one. I'll say very quietly, mostly to myself.
She reaches out and, in a move you are not expecting, her forefinger and thumb grab at your wrist, and she sort of walks those porcelain fingers up your forearm. And when she arrives at your body with her body in this sort of motion as she comes towards you, she gets close to your ear and she says, "I like it too." And then she sort of spins away and looks towards the bath.
I am worried about some things that I heard this evening, but I am back and you have what you sought. And as long as you are proud of a mission well done, I suppose that should be enough. I'll come and just sort of follow beside her.
I am proud that you were able to retrieve them. The Latin Quarter, unfortunately, has seen some sorrow this evening. I do
Yes,
believe it will have lasting consequences.
I mean, it sounded like it might fall this week.
There are those within the quarter that will not allow that. That is predictable. Kalias especially is a staunch champion for the underprivileged. He'll hold the Latin Quarter together on his back if he has to. It may take that, but it won't fall. In fact, quite the opposite is likely to happen.
Oh,
She nods and just simply does not explain.
I won't ask her further.
For now, we have something exciting to do, something fun.
Oh, I could use some fun after the last couple hours.
She looks to the 5 or so collected souls who are still glossy eyed, staring at her, watching her move about the space. And she says, "Go and collect some warm water. Not too hot, not too cold. Just warm enough. I need enough to fill the bath."
Of course. I will go get warm water for the bath unless she stops me.
Not you, dear. You stay right here.
Sorry, I'm so used to. I will let that sentence trail off. Just that I was used to that. And I will let the gathered others go get the water.
It is really strange to watch the rest of, retainers and ghouls who have been what you've been a part of for so long. Suddenly you have been segmented away from them.
Yeah. What are the odds that tonight was quite peculiar, and I wish to discuss it with you at some point after the fun part, for sure. But I managed to avoid any competition over me from our fellow Toreador that was in attendance. Though that woman is mean with a whip. But I had some some encounters tonight that I think you should know about at some point with all sorts of people. And she'll sort of fidget with the ring from Bardis and put it back in the satchel where the files came from. Um,
Oh, I'm certain that you were required to make many new introductions and many things happen. That is all part of being in this portion of society. Things happen. That's the fun. That's the zest.
for sure. Do you know of someone in society that makes people, and I'll describe the person that had too many muscles, too many pectorals, too many teeth,
There's way too many teeth there.
way too many teeth.
Certainly. There are many members of Clans Meets that can do such a thing.
Mm.
Many of the retainers and their ghouls are augmented. They work a different sort of craft, an art form, which is muscle and flesh and bone.
I met the saddest one tonight, praying that his sire would return
Hmm.
because he's been missing.
Have you ever imagined what life would be like without me?
Yes, and I would not wish that on anyone else.
It is a sad tale indeed, then. Now, I will collect some things after the bath is full. Prepare yourself.
I shall do just that. I will not try to tell tales or ask questions any longer. I will prepare myself for my bath as the Dama requests.
Very well. So we are going to get to Genevieve and her arrival as well. But before we do that, we are going to take a quick break so the cast can step back, bio, do the things they knew. We'll be gone for just a few minutes and then we'll be back. We'll run an ad to please the capitalistic gods that run Twitch. And then we'll be back with more Dark Ages Vampire, more stealing, immortality, and hopefully the benefits for all their hard work will come to fruition. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Stealing Mortality. I appreciate you sticking with us with the break with us. It's been a day, and hopefully you're enjoying what you're getting here on the Old Ways Twitch. We thank you for listening and watching and being a part of chat. Chat has been fun to engage with and see the crazy things that y'all come up with, and I love it. And I hope more of you stop out soon. So we're going to get now to Genevieve, who heads back to a villa, Antonio's villa, who is not terribly far from Epirus's. In fact, as far as Constantinople goes, they could be pretty close to neighbors, although not direct neighbors by any means, because, of course, the Ventru have to have space. The first thing that becomes clear to you upon approach is that something is amiss here. For some reason, the villa seems quiet. Even getting into the space is a little, it feels cold. There are always guards out front, always. And you don't see guards out front. There are always at least one or two people minding the gardens out back. And when you approach the villa, you can see them, at least something going on. Your master also is he's a fan of having parties at all hours of the night because he likes to show off his power. That's really part of what drew you long term to someone like him, his appreciation for power. It's something you share. And then you get to the door and you realize that the house door is unlocked. And that is not to plan. If there's no event going on, it should be locked. It's nighttime. It would not be within his normal purview to keep it unlocked. Anyone could walk into his home.
I pull the sword that I had brought back for him.
Certainly. Yes, the sword of Nero Claudius Drusus, the famed Roman military commander who helped pacify Germania with that sword in 14 BCE. You pull the sword out. It's got a good weight.
What?
It's well balanced.
Yeah. Do I notice any blood or anything? Dead bodies?
No dead bodies, no blood. But you haven't gone inside yet. Perhaps more awaits inside the villa.
Yeah, I use my foot to open the door. So I can have both hands at the ready.
Okay. You push open the door with your foot. And the inside of the house is just as cold as the walk up. Like it's physically cold in here. It's dark too. It's never dark here in the front room at night. There is always a fire in a brazier or something. The door, which to your left is where the house seneschal lives, is open. There is no candle. There is no work going on. The master always has work to do.
I enter the house. I don't call out. in case there's intruders or others in the house that would, do me harm.
Okay. You continue your prowl through the house. Past the main entryway. Past that, you begin to encounter the atrium. And so this is a common sitting space and place where people gather. And people have gathered here. It looks like they've gathered here for a final time. You see retainers and ghouls here, lying in a pile together. They are, perhaps sickened is not the right word, but their bodies are shriveled, as if the life has been completely removed from them.
Now I'm getting angry.
Okay.
I don't go touch the bodies or anything. Is there a fireplace in the atrium?
No.
Just a sitting space.
Yeah, there'd be a sitting space. There would be braziers here, like 2 or 3 of them to light the space. They're cold. They're completely dark. That's one of the difficult parts you're having with this is that the light here really isn't vivid enough. And so the bodies you're seeing are in sort of this pale shadow with some assistance from the overhead open air space. The atrium here is open to the air above. So you get some moonlight or cloud light in.
Actually, you said the bodies were in a pile?
Mhm.
Like, how many high and
Oh,
how many deep?
I would say that there's a collection of at least 10. It appears to be a majority of the staff of the house.
I don't see Antonio in there, do I?
You do not.
Okay.
No, you do not see Antonio in there.
I continue on. I am going to go to his chambers.
You continue through. You eventually get through the sort of secondary space here where the retainers and staff and mortals of the house exist at, and then the back half, which leads to a much wider and larger pool. And what leads you there are a collection of corpses. These specifically, though, look like they have been strangled. The skin around their necks and shoulders are taut. Several of them look like their collarbones have been broken in the process.
Is there a particular clan that kills people like that?
I mean, that's hard to say. I would actually say that a player asking that question would really need to have like vampire lore or clan lore to really know about how someone would kill. To you,
So, go ahead. I have well, I have occult and theology.
Neither would do it. Not specific enough. Occult and
Okay.
theology are both really wide and like broad skills, and they cover a lot of stuff. But how a vampire of a specific clan might kill someone, that's pretty specific.
Okay.
It looks like they were strangled heavily.
All right. I will.
You're not there
Is there anything
yet.
missing?
You're not there yet to your master's chambers. It's like in the lead up. As far as if anything is missing, no, there's not really anything that looks like it's been taken. There are things that were at one point on the walls that are not anymore. And so, like certain decorations or perhaps some of the sculptures have been tipped over and perhaps broken, but it doesn't look like this house has suffered theft.
Okay, I will continue on. I grip the sword. My knuckles are white at this point, and I am furious on the inside and a little bit on the outside.
Oh, yeah. You get to the pool, the big one. You get all the way out back where your master spent many, many nights, some with you at that pool in some of his sitting chairs, reminiscing about plots and political movements and trade and how to master a city and move and not get squashed under others' more powerful plans. He instilled in you a lot of the idea of how to rule. But his chair is vacant. And the pool is empty. And the villa back here is darker than you remember it. Make me a perception awareness roll.
Just to clarify, is the pool is empty of water or people?
The pool is empty of people. The pool has water.
And I'm having a moment. I pulled the wrong die.
It's okay.
Really...
We're all really actually having a series of moments together.
Together.
Here on Twitch.
So many moments. I love our moments.
Me too.
Oh my goodness. Forgive me all. I have not had near enough caffeine today. Or maybe too much.
It's okay.
And what was my role again? You said perception and
awareness.
Okay. Yeah. I got 2 successes.
It is awful dark back here. And yes, there are no traditional lights, but you have stood near this pool at night when there are no lights. And you've had the glow of the moon overhead. You know how this is supposed to feel. Somehow, some way, it feels darker. It's more than just the bodies in the house. There is something at the edge of your perception that you can't quite see. And a form at the far side of the villa, probably 20 or so feet from you, steps from the shadows, birthed from them. It is a dark-haired, well-built woman in a beautiful Spanish dress. And the shadows cling to her as she steps away from the doorway. They almost peel back.
I don't say anything. I just regard her. I look her up and down.
She's roughly 5'8", 5'9". She's attractive by likely Dark Ages standards. She has very striking features. There is a part of her, if she was greeting someone, that would likely arrive before she did. She is someone who's very lovely to look at, likely by most of the men and perhaps some of the women here. And she seems all business. She wears a very well appointed dress. She has a lot of Spanish style jewelry on, perhaps a touch of maybe southern France. She's adorned with different crosses. She gets about 15 or so feet from you. And she sort of folds her hands in front of her in a respectful but powerful pose. And she smiles. Not a big toothy grin.
Do I know her?
You do not. You have never
okay.
seen this woman before in your life. Tell me, Maria, how long did you think you could hide from us?
Maria?
Oh, yes. That is who you are, not who you parade to be. I'm certain that the people of the courts will still remember you. You were, after all, his favorite, weren't you?
I uh I don't know who you think I am, but I'm Genevieve.
You get a smile now, one with teeth. Very well appointed and a few sharp ones. I love when we play these games with mortals. It's so fun. Don't you think so, Casilda? And you see another form to your left now, this time, step out from one of the hedges. A somewhat a thinner woman, blonde hair down to the middle of her back, beautifully braided. She's dressed, if you didn't know it any better, somewhat like a nun. She has a very heavy and large cross across, just emblazoned on her chest. This is definitely a French style outfit. She wears a veil.
What do you want with me?
What do we want with you? The first woman says. You're ours. We're here to claim you. Your master, well, your former master, it seems has run afoul of a few people in this fair city. And we are here so that you don't burn.
I'll never leave my master.
Oh, you won't have to, dear. He is going to leave you. In fact, In a few short hours, he's going to leave all of us.
I hold well, it's my master's sword. I hold the sword in front of me.
Mhm.
I don't like the tone. You're speaking as if my master will no longer be on this earth.
Breaking hearts is what we do. It is, after all, what kindred do. Your master stood against a very powerful member of this city. He chose to put in his lot with someone who, in their final breaths, revealed his choice. And the master of this city, the archangel, he does not approve of traitors. Your fellow ghouls, the woman with dark hair sort of gestures to the house, they have paid part of the price. He will pay the rest. And now you have a choice: damnation or death.
Whose clan do you serve?
The woman with black hair steps forward. She gets about 10 feet from you. She does not seem in any way, shape, or form scared of the sword in your hand. We are an old clan, one with safety and renown. And given your history, one would think you would line up fairly well with the church. If you seek to rule, we are right at home with you. The blonde haired woman approaches you, gives you a bit of space. She doesn't get too close to you. But her face is a little softer. She does not seem as determined as this other woman. And Casilda says, my sister Isabella and I are members of Clan the Sombra. We are the clan of kings, no matter what the Ventures say. We simply do not want to see you destroyed.
At this point, I'm thinking to myself that the call for power, or the lust for power, is more than my lust for my master. While I love him very much, he'll never take me into his bed permanently. He's got too many. But I don't want to see him harmed.
No, of course not. But there are choices in life and in unlife. And it appears that the choice that you have been given are join your fellow ghouls and retainers on the floor or perhaps there is a different path for you. You don't know what will happen to your master, at least in truth, until you perhaps investigate deeper or find a way to understand what is happening. But you can't do that if you're dead. At least that is what they're presenting to you.
Did you say one of the women's name is Isabella?
I did, and the other one has
Hmm.
called her. It's been called Casilda.
When Genevieve was dying, she whispered about her mother, Isabella. Now, I don't know what she looked like.
No,
I'm not going to ask her that. That is not a question I'm going to ask at this moment in time. I have no wish to die.
Isabella sort of
Well-
eases herself back a little bit. Clan the Sombra does not seek your death. If it did, she just trails off. We are a clan which is not as numerous as Clan Ventru here, but we are interested in new leadership, strong leadership. And we do not believe the Antonio Ventru have that in their future. And so while they may be the clan you have known, they may not be the best for your future. And isn't your future the most important thing?
It is. I don't wish my sire to be harmed either.
Casilda gets a little closer and shows you that she's not armed in any way, and she reaches out in a comforting way with her hands, not to touch you, but just to in your general direction. And she says, "There are things which have begun which we cannot stop. They are not within our control. Michael will hear the full telling of the devastation in the Latin Quarter. He will hear the part your master played in directing some of those events. Those kindred will be held responsible. There is no getting out from under that. It would be better if you took shelter with Clan La Sombra, as Michael is known to scour entire bloodlines. The ghouls, the retainers inside, we did them a pity service. It would be better that they died in this way than be burned." She sort of just shudders.
Well, before we depart, do you mind if I change first?
Of course not. Feel free to bathe and clean yourself as well. We would not want to start your path in this night with any sins of the former experiences.
And I'm only Genevieve. I will not be referred to as anybody else.
Isabella looks you in the eye, and you get a real uncomfortable feeling for a second, because you have been dominated before.
Hmm.
And you know what that feeling is like. It doesn't come though, but the pretense of it does. And Isabella says, it was simply to acknowledge that we know who you are. You have taken the name Genevieve, and it is a good one. It is one the clan appreciates.
I nod. I have no desire to be anybody's servant again than those I want to serve.
Freedom. I'm certain we can find a place for you, a long-term place. There will be rules, of course, requirements.
It's like the terms of service, isn't it? Like, gotta read the fine print.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Yep, I'll go bathe.
They-
I am going to check out my master's chambers
Sure.
as well.
You find most of his things, quote unquote, in there, like his logbook and some of the other things that you would be used to seeing in his room, but he is gone. And strangely, so are some of his more expensive baubles.
Does it feel like he left me then?
Honestly, it probably feels like he was taken from you. He was taken from this space. You don't really know how or why. That there may be people here who have those answers, but it does not feel like he packed up and left. It feels like something happened to him.
I keep that in the back of my mind as I go change. I'll play along. Well, it suits me. I won't. I'm not saying that to them. That is me thinking in my mind that I'm. Because I don't approve of my master being part of the brutalness that happened in the Latin Quarter, because when you do something and you make a move to gather more power, needlessly killing others of our kind or his kind or my kind isn't necessarily the way. I don't mind killing people. As we've seen, not a problem to get where I need to, but widespread murder, I don't necessarily approve of. But I still love him and want him because the heart wants what the heart wants.
It does.
So
they wait for you until you're prepared and dressed. You've collected whatever you need to collect. They wait patiently, almost still, physically still, as if they're in church.
I put on a fresh tunic. I make sure I have a sheath for the sword still. Put on whatever boots or whatever armor that I might have around because I'm not leaving anything behind.
Okay.
And off I go.
Okay. You come out dressed in this sort of knight errant outfit. And Isabel looks at you, and Morgan, you're going to roll willpower.
Yeah, 3.
An interminable time later, you find yourself in a different house. You don't remember how you got here. You know that it's very late. You're sitting at a table with Isabella and Casilda, and you're eating food. You're very hungry. And so they or someone has prepared soup for you, bread, wine, and you're sitting in like a house somewhere eating. And they're carrying on a conversation, and you sort of come to mid spoonful of soup.
I put down the spoon and I look at Isabella. Don't do that.
You feel a completely different feeling when you look at her, a new one. You feel a matronly feel when you visually connect with her, like an aunt you didn't know you had. She's a little softer than she was at the villa. And she says, "Do what?"
If I'm to come with you and join you, it should be of my own volition. Do not force me to come to this table and sit. How much time has passed?
A few hours, child. But let us get something clear between us. You are in no position to tell me what to do in any way, shape, or form at any time. I speak for the clan here in this city. I am directly below the bishop. I am his child. I have plucked you from the mouth of death, and I am prepared to teach you in our clan's ways, give you a brand new, dark, and wonderful life. But you will treat me with respect. And perhaps in time, I will not have to peel away your former memories because you will be who you are meant to be, an instrument of power, your own.
My blue eyes are narrowed at her.
Casilda
And
looks
inside.
Casilda looks somewhat unhappy. Like she doesn't like this exchange.
I don't care what Casilda wants. She can take a flying fucking leap. But inside me, I want to friggin' stab Isabella's eyes out with a spoon. Dig your heart out with a spoon. We're going to go all Robin Hood on this. But I just sit there, gripping my spoon for my soup, and I take another bite.
You do. As you take another bite, you realize something inside. The hate you have for Isabella is hard to hold on to. It's difficult to hate her past a few bites of soup. It's like cotton candy in a pool of water. It only exists for a few moments and then it evaporates. And it becomes more of a neutral feeling.
I'm very confused at this point. How do I feel about my my former master.
Oh, Antonio, you feel amazing. I mean, he's in your brain sticks and sticks. Where is he? You sort of stop there, like half spoon full of soup waiting, and you realize that like you can't really wrap your head around the last time you saw him. You
Yep.
do another double
Yeah.
take. It's like trying to hold on to jello.
Do I remember what he looks like?
Sure, he's well, yeah, he has a very striking um well, you sort of struggle to form him mentally. You eventually get an image in your head, a man with very striking features, a sharp beard, a tanned skin, and again, the the memory just disperses. You try to hold on to it, but it's hard. There's someone out there that you care very much for, and you don't know why you can't connect deeper with them.
I'm panicking internally now because it feels like my thoughts are no longer my own or the thoughts that I had. I can't. I push back from the chair that I'm sitting in,
Mhm.
and I search around for Claudio's sword.
Oh, yeah, you don't see the sword. You're not even dressed in armor anymore.
What am I dressed in?
Just a
Oh,
tunic.
awesome. I mean, somebody touched me while I was. How rude! It's like, uh, why can't I remember? Why can't? What did you do to me? What? Where are my memories? Why can't I keep them?
You see Isabella look concerned. Which memories exactly?
The ones of the man that I loved.
She nods very carefully. I know that this is difficult, but I need you to hear me very carefully, Genevieve. I am doing you a courtesy because what is to come will be very painful. And the closer you are connected, the harder it will be for your heart. I'm going to leave you there,
Shouldn't.
Morgan. Yeah,
Oh,
you bet. I got things to do. Let me get to some other folks. So, Ophelia, you watch your master, Callias, begin just ripping through sheafs of paper. The pen and ink are just flying as he is writing and writing and writing. And he doesn't even seem to acknowledge the scrolls past the moment he did initially. And he is, as you can see, he is seeming to write missives to other people about what's happened in the Latin Quarter. He's asking for help and support through this travesty. He is writing, it looks like, members of the Bruja Senate. He is also writing members of the city's ruling council. And it's something that you watch his full passion get sort of unloaded into. He is a wordsmith, and he's a vaunted writer within the community here. He fills tomes with his thoughts on things. Whether anyone reads them is sort of hard to say, but um, he definitely has a mission. And it's part of probably 9 or so different letters that he prepares. And then he sets them out in a line. And he turns to you eventually after he's done and says, I need you to deliver these. And then return. I will attempt to put the house right.
Yes, Master Dukas. Are the letters like addressed individually so that way I know where I'm going?
Yep.
And I will empty the scrolls like onto his like desk so that way they're not in my bag. I will tuck the letters into my bag and I will depart.
You depart. Delivering the scrolls takes likely the better part of the last vestiges of darkness that the sky has. You place them into several different hands. It's sort of a cornucopia of people. And you take probably one of the most difficult ones that you take is to one of the bathhouses at the palace, which has been taken over by Clan Nosferatu. And that is an experience dropping that letter off. The hands which take it from you are bandaged, and they appear to be someone who has suffered from the plague and perhaps is suffering their unlife with it. But they take it all the same. The grave rot from the baths there is difficult to deal with. Other than that, you see members of the Bruja Senate. Some you have run into before. And you also see one somewhat, we'll just say, eccentric artist. Deals with mosaics. But for whatever reason, your master has you send him a missive. You haven't had a whole lot of direct contact with the Malcavs, but they're there.
So what's the villa look like when I get home?
It has been cleaned up a little. Not so much in the sense of like, the floors have been scrubbed. It's more like the bodies have been removed, garbage and refuse is gone, and the windows have boards on them or something to obscure the light, which will eventually be coming through.
Yeah.
Your sire waits in his space, one which is clearly obscured from any lights or sound. He looks like he's preparing to sleep for the night.
Is there anything else you wish of me, Master?
No, you have done an exemplary job at getting what I asked for you. I did not know Thomas was going to appear at the house. Do you know what he was doing there?
And I'm going to feel myself blush because I know that in some ways it's very likely he will approve of my actions and also disapprove of me putting myself in grave danger. He's not a big fan of that. He was trying to reason with the person who was running the estate that the Latin Quarter was going to need help and was told off and basically told to not come back and ask for help. I overheard it.
Thomas is a unique friend. He's not one who can watch people suffer. We fought together on a few different trips. We fought against one another a few times. He's like a brother to me. And your fellow ghouls, they made it out alive?
Yeah, we all made it out alive. I do not know if they made it safely to their abodes, though. I did not accompany them. I was more concerned about you and the house when I heard about what was happening in the quarter.
I understand the concern. I'm not leaving the Latin Quarter. This
I
is
know.
my home.
I'm not asking you to leave.
Let us rest. He lays down in the bed after barring the door. There is safety here, and I will need some time to go over the scrolls and what was said. Perhaps there is wisdom from Carthage I can draw on for this.
Perhaps.
And you and he take that space and time. It is quiet for once this evening. Emerenzia, the bath is not too hot or too cold. The Dama sees to that. The assembled ghouls ply you with all manner of fragrances during your bath. You are the center of the entire world for this house during your bath. It seems very important. It's almost as if the rest of the house woke for this event. Although you heard no one speak, not a single word was uttered, but retainers and ghouls and those who are favored by the Dama all come forward. They linger just out of the light, that moonlight reach that seems to center itself on the bath. She doesn't watch you bathe. She bathes you.
Oh, I will try to keep my heart from being in my throat the whole time then.
She has a unique and elegant method of doing so. Your blood races and boils in the best way. I would say that it's almost overstimulating, but something keeps it from being too much. It sort of rides that line.
My dearest muse is bathing me right now. If you think that this will not be a song, even if it's instrumental and it's just known by me and her, that this moment is the inspiration for it. If you do not think that this will be a song, though, you are sorely mistaken. To be touched by her. I'll let her bathe me, clearly blushing the whole time, though this is not the most naked or intimate we have been. This feels a different kind of intimate than
It does.
some of the other debauchery and activities we've gotten to. This is a different sort of intimate. So, excuse Emerenzia while she tries not to kick her feet like a schoolgirl in this bathtub.
It starts off all slow, really. And that's kind of the best part. There's a depth to the motions that she makes. She's careful and concentrated when she needs to be. And her movements when she bathes you are that of a dancer. And when she turns to wash your back, when she just ever so effortlessly leans you forward, your perceptions pick up on the sound of cloth hitting the floor. And you feel her form slide behind you in the bath.
Oh, you're joining me now? Attempting a nonchalantness that she clearly failed.
She extends those porcelain digits around your body and she takes hold of you. And she says, "No, my dear, you are joining me." And you feel her bite you in the
I
most
will.
wonderful way possible.
I mean, I'll lean into it.
You do so. You feel a flood of different emotions, both wonder and excitement and panic. And then the panic begins to grow as you realize that the Dama has fed from you before, many, many occasions. And you realize that you're beginning to gasp for breath and your heartbeat is getting really rapid. And you get dizzy. Oh, so dizzy. The smell of all of the incense and the oils, and now there's this rush of warmth all down your chest, and you realize that you are bleeding an awful lot, but there's no pain response from your body. Your senses feel almost a little dull at the tips.
Emerenzia trusts her to embrace me instead of just killing me in this moment. So I'm going to just do what I've done best for decades now and follow her lead. Though there may be a couple greedy moments caught up in the fervor of trying to entangle my fingers between hers and like hold her hands close, like harder into me and pull her closer to me in that embrace. But I will not stop her. I even if I lose a concerning amount of blood, I know that this is part of the process as far as I am aware. And she will probably not just outright kill me. So, plus, it's a little exciting to see what happens. I mean,
Sure.
anything could happen in this moment. I could join her for the long night. I could just join her in death, but not the living still part. Who knows? It's full of adrenaline, though, which is Emerenzia's favorite thing. So,
You do seek a good thrill.
oh, we do. Oh, we really do over here.
So that addict in you, the one which can't
Mhm.
be chained, begins to become a little focused and
Mhm.
addicted to the pleasure and panic mixture. And you hold on to that and you keep holding on to it. And you realize that your breath has gotten quite shallow. And you feel your body lay back against hers in this bath. And she lays with you there for what seems like an eternity. And it's you and her in this warm, blood tinged soup that the bath has become. And you feel the heat leave your body. You feel yourself cool. And with a simple gesture, she offers you blood from her breast.
I would not hesitate. I would just go in for that and drink with fervor.
There's an immediate hammering in your heart. 3 quick strikes. And you don't remember it beating again. You remember drinking. You remember the flashes of her smile, her equally bloody fingertips tracing your cheeks and neck as you continue to feed. It's delicious in its decadence. The two of you stand from the tub and she takes you to the balcony. This moonlit balcony overlooking some of the grandest areas in one of the grandest cities on earth. And in your newborn vampiric body, she parades you in front of your lessers. And she welcomes you to the clan.
What a beautiful thing to get to be a part of. Thank
Her smile is genuine and quite bloody.
you. Mine will also be genuine and quite bloody. Seems like we get to be a matching set.
We have much to discuss and do. It took me about a decade to earn the right to have a new child. You are the output of a lot of work.
Well, I promise to do my best to be worth all that work.
Oh, I have no doubt. And as luck would have it, I have a task in mind for you as your first official act as a member of the clan. But first, you must be brought to my elders and properly introduced when the time is right.
Of course, Dama.
She smiles. The night, well, what's left of it for you, is filled with bliss and a new set of eyes and an all new blossoming amount of senses. The vampiric Emerenzia is nothing like her former humor self. But more on that later. I don't think we can leave tonight without speaking with our fair Genevieve one more time. I would be remiss in my storyteller duties. The house you're in is actually rather small. It's attached to a church, a rather big one. The church is not one that you're readily familiar with, but you've been inside many churches. This one seems very, well, this is definitely not an Orthodox church. Isabella and Casilda are not far, but they don't run roughshod over you by any means, at least physically.
Yeah, I will wander around the church.
You meet many new faces. Some pale faces, some ones that are all sorts of full of life. All of them wear very significant religious iconography, a lot of crosses. There's also a general tint to the clothes here. They wear a lot of darker shaded clothes. The OG Goths, as they were, as Clan Lasombra is. And many of them seem to have some type of Spanish or perhaps Southern France tinge to their speech. They don't seem to have a lot of locals here. They all seem like transplants from somewhere else. There is one face you do recognize because you saw them at Epirus's villa tonight. You see Stania. This is a woman that you would have run into in the secondary room back when you were watching them sort of around that big pool with all the people bleeding into it. You see her here. It's a face you definitely recognize. you don't really have a connection to her, but visually it'd be a familiar face, at least from this evening.
Yeah, I take note of that.
Mhm.
How are my memories? How are my thoughts? Am I still very fuzzy?
I would say that you're only fuzzy when you try to directly concentrate on certain things. So you remember all of the events of the night at Eperis's villa. You remember every single detail as it was. You remember Irene Stellis dominating you and telling you what to do. You remember not liking that feeling. um, you remember going back to Antonio's villa. It takes you a little bit to remember his name directly. And you remember seeing Isabella and Casilda there. You remember all your interactions with them and them telling you that Antonio was going to be held responsible for something that happened in the Latin Quarter. Past that, the night is a little fuzzy. But the rest of your thinking and feeling and memories are completely intact. There's nothing being messed with, it seems. And I say it seems because it really only connects on certain things. You'd have to think about them, and that's really when things get fuzzy.
But I remember my life before Constantinople.
Yes, absolutely. None of that has been taken from you or obscured. Or you remember very distinctly Isabella earlier tonight calling you Maria, and that's a little concerning, obviously. But if they know who you really are, and they know probably who's looking for you, then, well, they haven't turned you in yet.
Does Isabella look like Genevieve? The real Genevieve?
I mean, maybe a little. I think there are some distinct differences between the two. Like their overall body shape is not the same. Um, the real Genevieve is not. She was not put together like that. Face. I mean, maybe they could be distant cousins, but it doesn't look like a direct correlation.
Well, she was praying to talk to her mother, Isabella. That would be such an odd coincidence that we meet in Constantinople and she's one of the embraced.
I mean, in your history and in your experience in and around kindred events, coincidences are unlikely. That the undead plot, and they do so for centuries, and you know that.
I sit in one of the pews and I bow my head and I pray to God and my maker, well, my current maker, to help me make the right choice. I'm meant to lead. That is why I found Genevieve on the battlefield,
Mhm.
dying from her wounds. And I
And
ran from my from the group that was keeping me, making me fight for them, and took the mantle of Genevieve. Um, and all I want is power because I don't want to ever be in that position again. Like I said before, I am nobody's servant unless I want to be. So I get up
you get up.
to the side of
There's
the cross. I go find Isabella,
you get up.
unless you have something else planned for me.
No, well, yeah, a little bit. That's okay though. You get up and you make the sign of the cross, and you turn around, and there's uh, an older man standing at the end of the pews, like in the center of the aisle, watching you. And naturally, that would be the way you get back towards sort of the place where you assume that they are. And he has a really heavy gaze, one that looks more like perhaps a member of the clergy. Are you
Can I
troubled?
help you? Oh, I'm always troubled. Oh, we're talking about my character. Um, am I troubled with?
He takes a step forward with what's happened, with where you are, your place in life.
I am troubled with the fact that I don't feel like I have any control.
Hmm. Control is such a difficult thing. We think we have it one moment, and then it is pulled from us the next by forces which we do not and cannot control. There is opportunity, though, and being able to temper oneself allows for longer term plans. Perhaps your frustration is that you feel you can do so much that you simply have to be loosed and let to rule, to do so. This is not the game you play, though. You must understand the game first and understand that control is a lie that we tell ourselves. But it is a lie that we can tell others.
I look at him. I am meant to rule.
He nods. It is why you are here.
What do I need to do?
First, you must accept your space for now. The clan plucks very few people, but when it does so for a reason. Isabella and Casilda took you because I told them to.
And who might you be?
He grins, like genuinely. I am Bishop Alfonso of Venice.
I immediately get to one knee.
You see, that is not difficult at all. Rise.
I'm sorry, Master. I didn't recognize you.
Nor should you. I believe you have a place here. I believe you were being wasted. And there is nothing that I abhor more than wasted talent. You are talented and powerful, but as a member of Clan La Sombra, you will be truly terrifying.
I stand. What do you need of me?
I need. He sort of pauses for a second and then very carefully puts his hand on your shoulder. His hand is not weighty, it does not come down on you hard, but it is an almost fatherly touch. And he says, I need you to do something very difficult. Something that will stress the will of your soul to do. I need you to learn to listen and care for Isabella as she is your master until I say differently.
Then what do I call you?
You may call me Bishop. It is my title. But here in Constantinople, you may call me Father, as I am to many of those who are here. And when he extends his hand like out towards the aisles that fill the church and the pews, you realize that there's like 25 people hanging out in the pews now.
Yes, Father.
I believe you are well on your way to understanding kindred society. And so the common educational items will not be necessary. What you will need to understand is what it means to be a member of Clan La Sombra, what it means to walk with purpose through the darkness. And once you do, you will join us.
I nod. And then I go to find Isabella.
She's not far. She's maybe 20 feet or so down the pew and back towards the door. She and Casilda are patiently standing there, almost in reverence to the bishop. She acknowledges you arriving.
Yeah, I kneel before her. One knee, not two. I mean,
Certainly.
and I reach out for her hand.
She takes your hand.
And I press my lips against the back of her hand.
She nods in approval.
And I look up at her and I am yours in which to wield how you wish, sire.
she pulls you up to your feet. You realize instantly that she is exceedingly strong. And she says, I am not one to require groveling, child, but I do appreciate your renewed respect. Your lessons will start at once. We have need of you in the clan. You will fill that space.
Yes, sire.
I think we are going to bring our episode to a close there. So I had an awful lot of fun tonight. Hopefully, all of our players did as well. There are some fun things planned for the next time that we gather. And I look forward to even more from our players and to see what else we can get up to during Stealing Immortality. So thanks so much for joining us. I have been your storyteller, Michael Diamond. I am the chief catalyst and troublemaker here at the Old Ways. I want to give each one of my players an opportunity to introduce themselves to any late viewers and then also plug anything that they like that they do. So please go ahead.
Oh, it's my turn. It's my turn.
It is.
Hi, I'm Morgan. My character is Genevieve de Montfort or Maria. I mean, like, but Genevieve. Our pronouns are she, her, and I'm a ghoul that I guess was playing a part of playing. Oh my God, part of Clan Venture and now Clan La Sombra. So there's that. Had a lot of fun tonight. I am part of the Old Ways podcast, and you can find me on Discord and a variety of games such as RuneQuest, Children of the Periphery, and Masks and Neuralthatep if you're looking for some oldies but goodies. And yeah, lots of fun tonight. That was actually kind of a wild twist. So
Yeah. In the I'll leave this as the sort of the interim portion. When I spoke with Morgan when we were getting this vampire game together, I asked if they were interested in a twist, and she said, "Oh, I love twists." And so here's your twist. So next to Morgan.
Hi, I'm Bunny. You probably, if you have been around the Old Ways for a while, know me as Dante's Avatar Tutor, or as Ivy Holloway in our Old Gods of Appalachia family reunion, or as Edie in Changeling, which, man, even just saying Edie almost kicked on that voice of hers, or all sorts of things so far. But I've been loving being in the chat with you here during Stealing Immortality and laughing and crying together and trying not to break with my fellow castmates. You can also find me on Twitch the rest of the time. I stream 4 days a week and we talk about occultism and tarot. And I just got a new set of runes that I haven't shown anybody yet that I'm really excited about. And I play video games and we have a really grand time. But I'm also in the Old Ways Discord if you ever want to hang out. So,
Oh, yeah. Awesome. And last, most certainly not least.
Hi, I'm Allie, and I had a great time. And you can find me on the Old Ways podcast as a cast member, primarily right now in Delta Green and Mage the Ascension that's airing right now.
Yeah, that Mage the Ascension game coming to the season 1 finale here shortly. Okay, so here's the fun part for all of our viewers. What we're going to do now, as we have been doing since episode 2, is we're going to go record some sort of after show cast chat stuff that goes up on our Patreon. So if you are not a member of our Patreon, I will link it here in the Twitch chat. You can check us out at patreon.com/the old ways podcast. These are complete exclusives for Patreon members. And so we get to do some sort of off the cuff reactions about the episode and how they went and how chat was and how the players on Discord try to completely destroy me and all of the things I was trying to do by playing around in the chat channels, and I have to look away from it or completely navigate away from it because I'm trying not to laugh when being serious. But If you like that sort of thing, then check out our Patreon. It's $3 a month for the. We'll get you just a ton of exclusives as well, not just these, but there's an entire game that we ran that is only Patreon. We're doing Patreon exclusives a lot this year. That's sort of a give back to the community for being so supportive. And so I would just say in closing to you and to everybody who might view this later, take care of yourself and each other. The world sometimes is pretty tough, and we really all are in this together, whether we like it or not. And so, if you think that everybody around you is okay, maybe check on them because that's maybe not always the case. And check on yourself too, because you matter. So, from my desk here, we will talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody.